how much longer can we allow this to go on? You know, I've been doing this radio show for 2.5, almost 3 years. I don't understand. And you know, the things that I've been talking about, the warnings that I've given, are all coming to pass. All of them. I'm not Nostradamus. I'm not some visionary. You don't have to be any of those things. All you have to be is logical and rational and honest. You have to be intellectually honest and willing to see the end result of where this is headed. You know, I talk to a lot of people. I speak at all kinds of meetings. I receive phone calls and emails in droves. And there's one common thread that I hear routinely, even from people who understand what's coming and what's happening and what's happened. And it is this: they're afraid. They're afraid to speak. They're afraid to take action. They're afraid to rise up. I mean, we're hearing about American Spring happening in April. And the common thread I hear through many is it's really intended to get all the patriots in one place so that they can, whatever, figure out who they all are or something worse. The truth is, I don't think this country has the courage that it's going to take to right this ship. And because they're doing it in a nonviolent way, we will slowly die and go down into that dark night without a fight, without so much as a whimper, much less a yell. It's happening everywhere. And it's not just one element or two elements or 10 or even 100. It's abuse from every corner and every aspect. It is complete and utter insanity. And it's insanity because we, the American people, refuse to stand up and fight back for ourselves in our own defense. We refuse to believe that we've turned into a police state. We refuse to take off the blinders and acknowledge that which is right in front of us. We don't want to lift the mask. We fear the truth because we're complacent. We're afraid to admit if we take off the mask, it's going to necessitate us to take action that will endanger us, and it will threaten our comfy little cocoon of apathy, of the ease that we have, of what we value, which is what? Things. Consumerism. What is all of that worth? I mean, is that really worth the future of our nation? Is your life, is your possessions, is your job, is your church, is your whatever it is that you value, whatever it is that you latch onto so dearly, is all of that, is the peace of slavery so sweet to you that you will purchase it at the price of chains and slavery at the price of your freedom, your liberty? Ask yourself that question. You know, I have people say to me, what you say on the air is, dangerous. You're going to get shot or arrested or something. Maybe so. But if there were 10 million of us saying the same thing, if there were 20 million of us, if there were 50 million of us, who all see it, all know it, all feel it, I wouldn't have to. This 18-year-old kid, you want proof? I'm going to give it to you. He's at school. He's in a vocational technical school in Ohio. He's a high school senior. Clearly an overachiever. This is the kid who's taken firefighter, 2 different firefighter courses, an EMT course, and he's already pre-joined the military. He's got to pre-join because he's not finished with high school yet. He's got certifications, including the National Terror Defense Certification from FEMA, the Terror Recognition Certificate, and he's certified as an emergency vehicle operator. He's enrolled in the Future Soldiers program, and he's scheduled to ship out in August when he graduates high school. He's already 18, but he has to graduate high school first. After he gets out of the military, his goal was to embark on police work or a firefighter, or firefighter EMT. So, on December 12th, the administrators at his school called him into the office. This is near Cleveland. It's in Jefferson, Ohio. And they got some alleged, no one really knows what the truth of this is, but they questioned him after allegedly receiving tips about some videos he had uploaded to his YouTube account. And the clips that are up there are some video games and some merchandise stuff, and home defense tactics, and an interview with a local police officer. This is what he told the Washington Post. The principal said he had reason to believe I had weapons in my vehicle and needed to search it. He made me empty out all my pockets. And the vice principal grabbed me and patted me down very forcibly. It was somewhat awkward. Then they took my car keys, and I told them what was in my car, and I said, "Don't be alarmed." He did not give them permission to search his vehicle, but they did it anyway. They said that they didn't need a warrant because the school handbook was the warrant. Really? So when they went into his car, they found a folding pocket knife, a stun gun, and 2 airsoft pistols. These toy, they shoot plastic pellets. The kid had told them that the stun gun was for self-defense, and the pocket knife was part of his EMT kit. Now, as far as the airsoft guns go, these are sold. It's like paintball, and they sell them in Walmart. Nobody construes them to be a weapon. They've got a big red plastic tip on them so that no one can mistakenly expect or believe that they're anything other than a toy. The stun gun was locked in his glove box. Not just in the glove box, but locked in the glove box. The knife was inside of his EMT medical vest, and it was sitting there in a pocket. He had bought it at Walmart, and it was part of his first responder kit because it had a blade in there that you could cut seatbelts with, one of those exposed blades that's got a shield over it. Standard EMT fare. Kid's 18 now. Let's not make any mistakes about this. He didn't have any of this stuff he was not prohibited from having any of this stuff because of him being underage. And it was in his car. He was not carrying it on his person. It was not in the school. They arrested him and jailed him for the illegal conveyance of a weapon onto school grounds. It's a Class 5 felony. The assistant prosecutor at the county prosecutor's office said the felony charge for possession of a legal conveyance of a weapon onto a school ground is related only to the pocket knife, because none of the other stuff is illegal. Frankly, neither is the pocket knife. Here's what Weiser told the Huffington Post. I was in jail for almost 13 days. The first bond hearing I went to was on December 15th. The judge ordered me to be held on a $500,000 bond pending a psychological evaluation. I did that and passed. They found that I was not suicidal, homicidal, or a threat to anyone. My attorney brought it up in front of a different judge who let me out on a $50,000 bond and an ankle monitor. I was released from jail on Christmas Eve. There are kids at my school, he says, all the time who get caught with knives, and they're suspended. My school is very rural, and people carry knives. I can accept the fact that there was a lapse in judgment, and I can accept the punishment. But I have already been expelled from both the tech school and my home school. The tech school declined to discuss the case. Why was he expelled when other kids were suspended? Why was he charged when other kids were suspended? Why was all of this happening when it was in his car, locked in a vest that clearly had an intended use that was related to his career choice? Now the Army has discharged him, even though they haven't actually taken possession of his body yet. And they've discharged him pending either a not guilty verdict or if the charges are dropped without prejudice from the prosecutor's office. The poor kid says, if I'm convicted of a felony, I'm never going to be a police officer. I'm never going to be a fireman. I'm never going to be in the military. I won't even be able to be a janitor. I'm 18 years old, and this is going to ruin my entire life. It gets worse. Because of the fact that he's on bond, the judge said that he cannot have any firearms in his parents' home. And they required his parents to remove the firearms and put them at his grandparents' house. Then he went before another judge. And that judge freaked out about him even knowing what a gun was, and he put a no-contact order against him and his grandparents. The rub is his grandfather is dying of cancer right now, and he's not allowed to be within 500 feet of his grandfather. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, this is the height of irresponsibility on the part of law enforcement. It's the height of irresponsibility on the part of the people who can adjudicate and resolve this case with good, old-fashioned common sense. Someone put up a petition. Within 48 hours, it had 1,350 signatures. Then the kid finally said, please close the petition. You know why? Wait till you hear this. The court threatened to hold sanctions against him and his lawyer because the prosecutor didn't like the fact that his inbox was flooded with mail from people who were saying, this is insane. So now they've placed a gag order or an effective gag order against the kid. Not that they've ordered him not to talk, but that they've threatened him with sanctions. You know what sanctions are in this case? Well, they can either add to the charges. I guarantee you, I know exactly how they are operating this. They're saying, if you don't drop this, then we're going to charge you with a stun gun on the property, or we'll find some other thing that we can charge you with, or we will gag order you. Ladies and gentlemen, what part of intimidation on the part of law enforcement don't you get? When law enforcement holds a gun to your head and says, this is what you will do, or we will punish you so severely you'll wish you were never born, that, ladies and gentlemen, is not freedom. It's not liberty. It's not the United States that I live in. The prosecutor has come forward and said he's aware that there are a lot of people out there who just think that we're the devil because we're allegedly ruining this young kid's life. Yeah, pretty much. But he insists that it's not the case and that the felony charge is justified and that he has no intentions of dropping it or reducing the charge to something else. Here's how he justifies it. There are all these school occurrences where people are shot. People are killed by other students. We see it every day. So we don't take these things lightly. We have to be sure that we don't have a potential for something like that to happen here. So, let's not worry about the life of one. Let's not worry about the protection of the rights of the smallest minority. Let's punish this kid because there's a potential for him to possibly cause a problem. The kid actually is offended by the prosecutor's characterization of him, and he says so. He says, I was enlisted in the Army, and I went to school to be a police officer and a fireman. Why are they trying to paint me as a potential school shooter? I never had any intentions of hurting anyone. He's scheduled to appear in court again on April 1 for a pretrial hearing, and a jury trial is scheduled for June 11th. The kid's final words in the article are, never in my life did I think this would happen. I dedicated my life to public service, and now a 4-inch pocket knife could ruin everything. Well, you're absolutely right. A 4-inch pocket knife could ruin everything, but not because a 4-inch pocket knife is the problem, Jordan. You see, Jordan, the real problem here is something else. It's that individuals with power and authority are so drunken on it and so completely out of touch with reality that they would utilize something as inanimate as a pocket knife as a means and a methodology to destroy you because they've lost contact and touch with the reality of the world that they live in. They're so embroiled in the goal of achieving the law at all costs that no common sense is used. Having found myself in this situation, having been abused by the same system, having been unjustly prosecuted for something I didn't do, having paid a price far greater than Jordan Weiser will, and having those same painful final results, which are your life is ruined, you'll never work for in any kind of substantial job ever again. I know exactly where the kid's coming from, and I feel for him in a way that I cannot even express. I can tell you what's been done to him violates the 8th Amendment's limitations against cruel and unusual punishment, and he hasn't even been found guilty yet. I can tell you that law enforcement across the country is not interested in justice anymore. Now they're interested in the Machiavellian principle of the ends justify the means, and they just don't care. They don't care about what's right. They only care about the fact that they can hold up a piece of paper and say, but the law says this. But if the law doesn't make sense, then why would you follow it? If I passed a law that said you should jump off the George Washington Bridge, would you do it? But you see, America, you're all complacent. And you're all willing to sit here and say, well, I'm a law-abiding citizen. Law-abiding to what? Tyranny? Law-abiding to what? Just because a tyrant passes a law doesn't make it right. Saudi Arabia has laws against women driving. Does that make it right? Well, that's Saudi Arabia. That's different. Is it really? Is it? How long before we are Saudi Arabia? How long before we have the most unreasonable laws passed that, again, you will acquiesce to quietly? Well, I guess it does make sense, you know. There is that 0.0000000000001 chance. When the rule of law and the protection of the smallest minority, the minority of one, and the rights and the privileges and the natural freedoms and liberties that one person has are derogatorily stripped from that person for the benefit of the whole, but not even under a realistic benefit, under the panicking, insanity, fearful possibility that one individual may act in a way. That's pre-crime, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're willing to acquiesce to that, we got nothing further to talk about. Nothing. Find some other channel to listen to. Find somebody else to give you a massage, a mental massage. I'm not about mental massages. I'm about jolting you awake and saying, wake from your dream. The house is aflame. The bullets are flying. The water is rising. The earth is opened. Awaken and protect and defend yourself. If you don't call this tyranny, if you don't call this authoritarianism, if you don't call this totalitarianism, if you don't call this a police state, then I'm asking you, give me a better word. Give me a better definition. Come up with a justification for this. And this, not just this case, there are tens of thousands of cases like this rampantly raging through our courts and our society right now. Find me justification for them. Find me a reason. Find me logic. Find me rationale. Find me legitimacy. Find me authority. Moral, ethical authority. It does not exist. And on that topic, my email will be silent. Because it doesn't exist. Jordan Weiser, on behalf of truth and honor and justice, I apologize to you in advance on behalf of the nation. And I apologize to you because we've let you down. And I apologize to you because we've been afraid to stand up and stop what we all know to be wrong. And you cannot give your forgiveness because we have not yet done the right thing to amend it. We have not made amends yet because the behavior continues and we still cower in fear. God help us. How will we ever justify this? How do we allow this to go on, America? How do we look this young man in the eye and tell him that we're going to hand him off a world that's worthwhile? We'll be right back. You're listening to America's Voice Now.